Hello and welcome to another open source workplace video. Today I'm very happy to bring someone new to you again as we continue this series, this short 10-minute series of videos. Today I'm bringing you Ken van Someren of Boost Cognition. Ken is a key opinion leader in human health and performance. He is a key player in developing the high performance system and led support for the Great Britain Olympic and Paralympic sports for the London 2012 Games. He also launched and led the GSK Human Performance Lab, and he's helping to build and deliver sustainable high performance for sports and organizations and businesses. So Ken, that's a lot. Welcome.
Thanks ever so much, Steve. No, thank you for the kind words. Pleasure to be here.
No, man, it's an impressive resume, and obviously it speaks to the access you've had, obviously, to elite sports athletes, and then what you're trying to, what you've learned from that, and then bring it to the workplace. So it's really, really good to have you involved, and really interested to see what we can learn.
Yeah, well, thank you. And as you alluded to there, my career really has been in high performance sports. So I was a good but not fantastic athlete myself many years ago. Sprint kayaking was my sport. Went to a number of world championships, but never quite made the Olympics and never quite made world championship medals. So I guess I went through a period of time in my life where, what next? And I followed the opportunity to be able to help others through the application of science. So, my passion is high performance. And frankly, whether that's in sport or whether it's in business or just individuals in terms of their own well-being, bringing their best selves to work, achieving their goals, whatever it might be, and bringing science to do that. And my career started as an exercise physiologist, so very much focused on how the body works and how we can maximize the body's performance. As I guess a little bit longer in the tooth, you start to realize that, okay, well, that's fine, but without the psychology and the behavioral science that goes with it, none of this sticks. And that's probably, a really important point for this conversation, but anyone working in public health, anything, by and large, the science is well ahead of practice and what people are doing, whether that be sports teams, individuals, businesses. But it's how do we apply it and how do we make it stick so it makes that difference? That's the bit that's, I think, a challenge for all of us and something that's really fascinating to me as well.
No, and the change that we're all going through right now, right? This is just a huge social experiment that actually, we as humans, we don't like change. When change is forced upon us, though, we're actually quite adaptable and we do adjust fast. Now, I know you personally were gearing yourself up for a little bike ride around Ireland and training hard, and obviously this hit. So, emotionally, physically, what did you go through when you had to adjust your mindset?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one because I've flogged myself fairly hard through winter, getting up early, getting out in these dark mornings. Winters in the UK aren't great. There's been a lot of rain. There's been a lot of gale force winds. Sort of going out and doing sort of 60-mile rides, 70-mile rides before work for this race around Ireland in June, which is 1,500 miles. It's unsupported, which basically means the clock starts when you cycle out of Dublin and it finishes when you pretty much circumnavigate Ireland and get to the south coast near Cork. And it's up to you when you stop for food, when you stop to sleep. And typically it takes the winners something like 6 days and then other people however much longer. So that had been, a real focus for me and something very tangible that I was gearing up for and incredibly excited about. Slightly daunted by, I've got to say.
Of course.
Really excited by as well. And then all of a sudden, we don't know what's happening. Is Ireland going to be open for business come the start of June? Is it going to be pushed to later in the year? Or do I have to sustain all this horrible high volume training for another whole year? So, this isn't unlike the situation people are seeing in terms of work with COVID-19. It's also exactly the same that elite athletes are seeing. For a while, the International Olympic Committee was saying, we're not making any decision about what's going to happen with Tokyo 2020 Olympics. and the IPC with the Paralympics. And athletes are just, they're in the state of not knowing. And how can you conduct your training and your preparation when you don't know what's around the corner? So elite athletes now know that, okay, this year's a write-off, we do it again next year. But I think the really important thing in all of this is, the way we cope with uncertainty is through resilience. And this again is particularly relevant now because we don't know, okay, your president's talking about opening the country for business quite soon. Headlines in the UK about, we're going to be hit harder than we thought we would be, possibly the worst in Europe. And this could go on for weeks, if not months. So if we are focused on a date that we're going to be back to the old normal, we are going to lose an awful lot of time and effort worrying about that, which is going to take a toll on our physical, mental, and emotional well-being as well. So it's really important that we build the resilience to be able to cope with that.
No, it's a remarkable, and thank you for bringing that connection together from your own physical plan, mental stability, and then into the workplace. Because obviously, the conversation that everyone's having this week is returning to work. If I'm working from home and I can be able to do that, then why do I then have to go into the office? The offset of that is if I have a social responsibility to go to work because it helps the economy, how do I do that? Now, as leaders and as business owners think about that, how do they mentally sort of think that through, given what you've learned from how elite athletes sort of prepare their mindset for change and ongoing, instability, because there is nothing stable about it, right?
No, and there's a couple of things here, and you touched on it right at the beginning when you talk about this period of change, and we are adaptable. As a physiologist, I look at this as any other stressor, and I think about the general adaptation syndrome. Some people would have heard of that. Some people would have seen the illustration, where basically, if we impose a stress at a point of time, for an athlete, it's a really hard training session. We get a period of fatigue, and then we get a period of adaptation, where our functional capacity comes back to beyond where it was. And the audience listening into this will be able to relate to that, whether it's the first time going to the gym and really hurting afterwards and then it not being so bad next time, or the first time you start a new job and you've got an earlier start and a longer commute. The first week, absolutely exhausting, but your body adapts to it. And the body is incredible at adapting to physiological and mental stress. It's how we survive. It's how we've evolved. We organize ourselves as biological systems. So when we're faced with that same stress again in the future, it doesn't take such a big toll. And this is why athletes train. And this is why I believe that physical and mental well-being is so important for anyone in any walk of life. Because if we're not fit for our daily lives, then we're going to really struggle. And I think this is, a fascinating, although horrific point in time that is imposing a huge stress. Whether we're coping with it or not, it is a huge stress that most of us will adapt very positively to. Some will struggle more. And interestingly, some of the organizations we've been talking to just over the last couple of weeks, what's really clear is whatever the organizational culture, when you look at this on an individual level, some people are loving being based at home. They don't have to get up so early. There's no commute. They see their family. They've got the comfort of their own home. They've got the coffee machine right beside them, the type of coffee they like. They build more physical activity into their day. Their nutrition and diet is better. It's all good. There's other people who, and I'll give you just a few very real examples, living in a small apartment, no dedicated workspace, spending the day balancing a laptop on the sofa, horrible neck and shoulder pain by lunchtime, never mind the end of the day. You've got other people who are feeling incredibly isolated. And that's even people with families, so even with families at home, they are missing that face-to-face engagement with colleagues. There's probably a third type of person, myself included here, with young family, and you're trying to juggle the homeschooling with doing your work and trying to stay sane amongst all of it. And that, that is definitely a challenge in terms of how can we create a workspace that allows us to focus, but also how do we manage our day so when we're not working, we're not stressing about the fact that we're not working. And interestingly, there's another group of people, in contrast to that first group I mentioned, who actually can see their well-being falling apart, their physical fitness and well-being falling apart, because plenty of people are the yoga studio at lunchtime or the gym on the way to work. That no longer happens. And instead of that, you're giving the kids breakfast, and then you're moving into the homeschooling, and then you're getting on with something else. And before you know it, actually, all these healthy lifestyle habits that I believe we've got a tremendous opportunity to practice, refine, and personalize for ourselves, actually all falling by the wayside. And we're getting incredibly stressed and caught up in the here and now of how do I juggle what's in front of me?
Yeah, no, that's great. And you talk about it, and I see all those different instances, and I almost look at my own emotional state, and you almost, I think most people actually, it's like a roller coaster, right? They go through all those different emotions regularly. So look, Ken, I really appreciate you taking time today. I'm looking forward to continue these weekly conversations with you, to see where and how you can help. You've put together a program that I think is going to be so good, so helpful for people going through this, and what you've learned from the sports and from the mental side of things, and applying that to the workplace and the human being is going to be fantastic. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, absolute pleasure. And, I think we mentioned resilience. I think it'd be great to dig into that, about what that really means and how we build it. And I think whilst we are at home, how can we create an environment that allows us to focus when we need to focus? And then, your final question there, which we probably didn't get into enough meat about, the return to work. What does the future look like? So many interesting aspects and insights that we can discuss there as well. So look forward to it.
No, I'm excited by it. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
No, thanks a lot. And you. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye for now.